Yesterday, we got to see the House impeachment managers put on really their full display, their full attack on President Trump, trying to make a connection between the president's words and the horrific actions of January 6th. They never tell you the full truth. They're always taking things out of perspective.
In order for there to be an insurrection charge that has any meat against it against the president, you've got to create a connection, a nexus between what he said and what ultimately occurred, and that his words and his actions and his protestations and whatever he said, which I recall saying, let us now peaceably march, was the direct cause or had a causal connection to the events that took place at the Capitol grounds on January 6th. They have not been able to make that connection.
They could have gone for something lesser if they wanted to. They chose incitement to insurrection, so it is their duty to prove that case.
This was, I think, one of the worst lies put forward by the House managers, because that's what splicing is. Ultimately, it's to mislead you.
We will never surrender. We will only win. Now is not the time to retreat. Now is the time to fight harder than ever before.
That was on December 5th. Donald Trump was campaigning in Georgia. Here's the full clip so you understand the context.
We have to get out to vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler to show the radical left that we will never surrender. We will only win. We're going to win. We always win. Somehow we find a way to win. Now is not the time to retreat. Now is the time to fight harder than ever before.
I'd be pretty scared as an attorney to splice language like that and put it before a judge. Now, they don't have to have that kind of fear because this is a political trial.
This was a absolutely reprehensible act on the part of the House managers to take a portion of what the president said when he was speaking in Rome, Georgia, in connection with the senatorial contest, and to make it seem that that was the prelude to what happened in Washington a month later on January 6th.
Just because it's a political trial does not mean that you should ignore elements of due process. I mean, for example, what we've seen the last couple of days is, manipulating evidence and a little bit of jury intimidation and what have you. And, those are the kinds of things that would never be allowed in a courtroom. Because this is a political trial, they don't have to abide by some of those rules of fairness. And yet, because of precedent and because of the high-profile nature of this, they should be more honest and have integrity on certain matters like this, splicing the videos and presenting, part of the evidence, but not all of it.
It looks like Schumer kicking off today said that they were going to take their standard breaks like they did yesterday, briefly in the afternoon. And then he said they would break briefly for dinner if it's needed. So, again, I'm guessing here, Jordan, but that suggests to me that he does think that maybe the managers will be wrapped up by then.
Unless there's motions for witnesses and they first have to vote to say that they will have witnesses. And then they would have to actually break, have depositions done behind the scenes of the witnesses, and then have votes on whether or not each one would testify. You could actually see a vote on this weekend.
They're trying to make the senators who are the jurors in this case believe something that they do every day in their regular course of work, Jordan, could be incitement to insurrection. It's just not a compelling case to those individuals. By the way, I also think it's a dangerous one.
Using words like unrest in the streets, Nancy Pelosi, uprisings. I don't even know, why aren't there more uprisings? Hillary Clinton saying her election was stolen. Joe Biden saying he wants to punch Donald Trump.
What about getting in your face with Maxine Waters and Kamala Harris bailing out people who have committed riotous acts? What's good for the goose is good for the gander, except for the Democrats. They're allowed to say these things. They get away with them. But a former president, not even the incumbent president, gets impeached and tried.
The president never encouraged people to commit acts of violence. This idea that, he whipped people into a frenzy because he's a good orator. That's not incitement to violence.
They're not doing a really good job of convincing me, or I think the average American, that somehow that Donald Trump was directly responsible for what happened at the Capitol. A lot of emotion, not a lot of facts.
You can have the great team, can have the great resources like these House managers, can be good orators as members of Congress, but if you don't have the facts, you lose, and they're going to lose again.